What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. So this morning there was a coup in Benin. The Benin military has allegedly has taken over the country, but the Benin president said that they have taken back control. We don't know what's going on. Everything is fluid right now. But the current president was just about to step down, but he was going to appoint a successor to his power, which was going to be another French pawn, a French coon, a French puppet. You see what you're seeing? This is what I need you guys to understand what's happening in Africa, right? What's happening in Africa right now, these coups that you're seeing are not the same coups you saw back in the 90s, back in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. Those coups were CIA, FBI, and Israel and all the European secret services. That was their attempt to continue to destabilize Africa by installing the puppets who committed the coups on otherwise stable nations. You understand? When Africa decided to rise, European powers put in power and finance terrorist organizations to commit coups on the country. When you see those type of coups, that's when you see civilians getting killed, getting shot up. You don't see civilians supporting that. But what you need to notice, what you're seeing right now in West Africa and many other parts of Africa, is that this is Pan-Africanism. That's what this is real. We ain't joking. We ain't talking about no airlines. Who created hip hop? This is Pan-Africanism. These are African people trying to liberate themselves from the ethno-nationalists that's holding them back. You see, Benin was another one of France's pawns, who France was holding on to Benin because they're losing everything else. France and the United States, they've been pretty much lost all their colonies in America. They're just trying to hold on to their foreign policy of aggressive, give me everything you got or else, kind of like universal spreadsheet, foreign policy. But you got countries like France, who literally whole economy is backed off colonization. As you can see, France is falling. Their economy is crashing. The country is becoming a third world nation because they can't steal from Africa because they're thieves. France, they're thieves, along with the rest of Europe, who can't take care of themselves, can't defend themselves, can't finance themselves, can't pull themselves up from their bootstraps because they never had any bootstraps. They've been wearing African boots with African shoestrings this entire time. But now we're taking them shits back. And I don't know if this is going to be a successful coup. I don't know if it's going to work out. But you can see the pulse of the people is to take back Africa. You see, once it started happening in Niger, it happened in Mali, Burkina Faso, it's going to happen in Benin, it's going to happen in Togo, and eventually it's going to happen in Nigeria. And that's the one that all of the white world is afraid of, because it's creeping closer and closer to Nigeria. The NSARS situation, it almost popped off. But you see, Nigeria is a different beast from the rest of these countries because it's so big and it's a lot more organized than you think. And they got a lot more resources than you think. And the place is so expansive in order for the military to do such a thing towards a government that's going to sell out the people to white foreigners. It would be a bigger undertaking. Nigeria is at the point where it doesn't need a military coup because their infrastructure is to the point where they can actually do this a democratic way. They can do it democratically with a little bit of aggression, but they can do it democratically. What I expect them to do it more on that level. But these other countries that they're so small, they don't have enough economic pressure, don't have enough economic input to do it economically. And so the only the war fighters, the people who make the change, these military personnel are the only ones who have the ability and the capability to take back their country for their people, on behalf of their people, against uncle, all right, against grandpa, who've been a stooge for white supremacy for 30, 40, 50 years. You see all these democracies these white people like to tout in Africa. These are all democracies that feed the West, Wakanda. All the heads of state that have been in charge for 20, 30, 40 years feeds white Wakanda. So they don't have no problem with those dictators. They don't have any problem with dictators as long as the dictating goes towards their European white Wakanda pockets. We see when people stand up and rise against this fake democracy that's really just a way for Europeans to keep their claws into African affairs and just a way for white people to replace puppets that don't act right with puppets that will act right to a ever-revolving election cycle like they do here in America. It's time for Africans to make the change and do something different in order to stop that sickly cycle of European imperialism. And that's what's happening now. Whether it's successful or not, that's what's happening. That's the only kind of coups that's happening in Africa right now, especially West Africa, which is our brothers and sisters, all right, across the pond. Those are our direct brothers and sisters fighting for the freedom of their people, all right? And we, as Africans, Americans, need to support them the same way we support Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and all other African countries that need to liberate themselves from these white Western freaking vagabond, barbarian savage. The same way African Americans had to do it to ourselves or cross seas on foreign land, they got to do it on their land. We all got to do our part. And that's what you're seeing here. So don't let anybody mix you up thinking, oh, this is just an unsuccessful African nation. This is just an unsuccessful organization of African country. No, no, no. This is the black man fighting the other black men for the fate of the black family. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comment section. Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
There has been a sudden dramatic situation in Benin as a group of military officers announced that they had overthrown President Patrice Talon. The soldiers, calling themselves the Military Committee for Refoundation, stormed the national television station in the commercial capital Cotonou on Sunday, 7th December, in the morning, criticizing the government's handling of the country. The coupists, led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri, also announced the closure of borders and suspension of political parties. President Talon's whereabouts were not immediately known. There were reports of gunfire near his official residence. However, his office said he is safe and that the larger part of the army was loyal to him. Benin's Foreign Minister Olusegun Adjadi Bakari also told Reuters that National Guards had regained control in the West African country, describing the coup plotters as a small group of military officers. Adjadi said, "A large part of the army is still loyalist and we are taking over the situation." Benin's Interior Minister Alassane Seido also later appeared on state television, saying the country's armed forces had thwarted the attempted coup and appealed for calm. Benin's political history has been marked by several coups and attempted coups since its independence from colonial ruler France in 1960. Patrice Talon, who came to power in 2016, is due to step down at the end of his second term in April 2026. That's the maximum limit allowed by the Constitution, and he has not said he would seek a third term. The main opposition party, Les Democrates, has been barred by the Constitutional Court from the race to succeed him from failing to meet election requirements. Instead, the ruling coalition of the Republican bloc and the Progressive Union for Renewal parties will face a so-called moderate opposition in the elections, scheduled to take place on 12 April 2026. Talon has been praised for economic development in Benin, but is often accused by his critics of silencing dissenting voices, which he denies. The situation in Benin comes amid a wave of military takeovers in West and Central Africa in recent years. Just over a week ago, the army seized power in Guinea-Bissau, toppling President Umaru Sissoco Embalo as the country awaited the outcome of tense presidential elections in which the deposed leader was seeking re-election.
Some wild news is coming out of West Africa as no one actually knows who's in control of Benin right now after another potential military coup. Here is what we know so far. So early on Sunday morning, a group of soldiers led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri appeared on Benin's national TV. The soldiers claimed that they had seized power, removed President Patrice Talon, and dissolved all state institutions. However, shortly afterwards, government ministers announced that the coup had failed, saying that the army had regained control and that the president was safe. It's still a fluid situation with so much conflicting information, and so we'll probably get a clearer picture as more details emerge. But right now, the key question is, why did this happen? What is behind this attempted coup? Well, analysts say that the root cause is the same one that we've been seeing all across West Africa. Widespread corruption, democratic backsliding, and leaders using democracy as a facade to stay in power. In the case of Benin, political tensions had been rising for years. President Talon had been in power since 2016 and had jailed many opposition leaders. On top of this, he had already appointed his finance minister as his successor for next year's election, raising concerns about political manipulation. And so for many observers, this attempted coup isn't a shock. It was bound to happen sooner rather than later. And it's not happening in isolation, because just days ago, Guinea-Bissau also went through a coup after a disputed election. And in recent years, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Guinea have all experienced military takeovers. And so to many, the pattern is clear. People in the region increasingly see democracy as a farce. They see it as a system captured by elites used to entrench themselves in power rather than represent the people. If confirmed, this would make Benin the 6th country in the region to face a coup in just a few years. And at this rate, it likely won't be the last.
How's everyone's Sunday going? Because I am in a military coup. I'm in Benin and the government has been overthrown as of this morning. I've seen the social media videos of the military talking in French about why they've overthrown the government, but the president had 3 months left. So my guide is quite shook. I'm on a press trip through Benin, Togo and Ghana, and the guide that I'm with is quite shook. He can't believe that there's a military coup. Not me getting held up in a military coup, but yeah, he can't believe that there's a military coup, and he doesn't understand it because the president had 3 months left. But I've heard from him that the president has now left the country. I don't know if that's true, but what I do know is true is that there's shooting going on a mile up the road near the parliament in Cotonou, which is where I am, the capital. There's shooting going on near the university. My guide says they're not shooting civilians. It's more like military power versus presidency power, but it's all quite scary. And the fact that my local guide from Benin is worried, is making me worried. So we're staying in this hotel at the minute. We've been told to stay put. I can see a roadblock from my window, so I think we're going to be here a while. We're fine, like everything's fine, but it's quite intense because this was supposed to be a press trip, and then I'm with other people that have paid to be here, and everyone's just slightly on edge. Obviously sending condolences and love to anyone's family that might have been caught up in the actual violence. We're all, a couple of miles removed from that, but it's intense. On top of that, I don't have any luggage, which obviously pales into insignificance compared to what's going on right now, but I would have loved to have got my stuff, and my stuff was supposed to fly in today. I'm not even upset about that. It's more like I had 2 cases, and one of them was full of stationery and pens for the kids on the homestays that I was going to be seeing in Benin and Togo. I spoke to a local guide and he's like, bring some stationery. So I had a whole suitcase full of like paints and pens and stationery, and that's gone. And then my suitcase, Christ knows where that is. It was supposed to come in today, and I wanted to go back to the airport to get like a reference number so I can claim it all on insurance, but I can see a roadblock. I ain't going anywhere. Nobody's going anywhere. So yeah, we're holed up here. How's your Sunday going? I'm in a coup. What's also paining me is that I could be with Group 1 right now in Accra, but I chose to do this press trip, traveling by road through Benin, Togo, and Ghana. I could be with Group 1. I should be with Group 1, but I'm not. I'm here in a coup because I chose to be here. I'm in a coup. I'm in a coup. Yeah, it's a bit insane, but we're fine. Everyone's fine. I'm going to tell my mum and go and have a look at the roadblock outside my door. I don't think I'm going to be going anywhere anytime soon. I've got my visa for Ghana though, so I can potentially get there. We're supposed to cross the border into Togo, then drive into Ghana from there. But because the roads look super blocked, who knows if that's going to happen. I'm going to go and have a look at this roadblock and keep you guys posted.
Breaking news. Another Franc-Afrique nation has had a coup d'etat. This time it's Benin. All this is happening a few months before the elections in the country. I think around April 2026, the current president, Patrice Talon, was planning to leave office and then select a successor. However, many people were saying this is not democratic. Many opposition leaders were being arrested, and you know how it is with these dictator countries. So with all that, it appears that the military decided to take action now. However, like with Guinea-Bissau, I'll be very, very cautious. I wouldn't celebrate this just yet. We don't know the intention of the military. Is this legit, or is it like a Guinea-Bissau situation where the president is involved? It's not a real coup d'etat, it's just bollocks. I hope it's not just me noticing a pattern here. It's the Franc-Afrique nations, so nations that are influenced by France or
French interests that are having all these various coups d'etats. So it started with Mali, then it went to Burkina Faso, then it went to Niger, then we had Guinea-Bissau a few weeks ago. Obviously, that was a fake coup d'etat. Now we've got Benin. We don't know whether that's legit or that's not legit. Even if it's legit, can we trust the people that are having this coup d'etat? Do they have the interest of the people in mind, like the AES nations? We don't know. But what's clear is these French-influenced nations have had enough. Yeah, what France has been doing for decades, they can't continue doing that because the people have suffered enough. Yeah, keep oppressing people with neocolonialism long enough, they will rise. Okay, and I'm happy to see that. But I'm not saying we should be seeing coup d'etats all the time. You know what I mean? There could be other ways to do it, but if that's what people have to do, let it be. Yeah, we've seen good coup d'etats, and some coup d'etats are not good. Some people have bad intentions even for their nations. So for Benin right here, I pray that this is good for them. But if not, I pray order gets restored or order leads. You know what I mean? Enough suffering for West Africa, especially these beautiful nations right here. They've gone through so much. It's time to change, bro. The rising of Africa is happening. Nobody's gonna stop it. Can't stop us, baby. Long live Mama Africa.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.